We've all heard the stories. You've been in relationships, whether personal or professional, where it feels like the harder you try, the more distant the other person becomes. But here's the truth that might surprise you. It's often not the person who needs you the most who captures your heart, but the one who can stand alone. The one who doesn't need your validation, your approval, or your attention. Why? Because it's that very independence, that confidence in their own value, that makes them magnetic. Today, we're going to explore why people chase after the ones who don't need them. We'll break it down into 5 key points, each one showing why strength, self-sufficiency, and a bit of emotional distance make someone irresistibly attractive. And maybe, just maybe, after hearing this, you'll realize the power that you already possess. When we talk about the power of self-sufficiency, we're talking about one of the most valuable, underrated traits anyone can have. It's the difference between living a life driven by the opinions and needs of others and living a life that's fully owned by you. When you learn to depend on yourself, not only do you free yourself from the need for validation, but you also tap into a force that's magnetic, something that others can't ignore. Self-sufficiency is about finding the strength inside yourself to not need anyone to define your worth. It's about learning how to fill your own cup before asking someone else to pour into it. And when you do this, something powerful happens. You stop chasing others for their approval, for their attention, for their validation. Instead, they start chasing you. Think about it. We've all seen people who seem to have it together. They're not running around begging for the spotlight. They're not out here trying to get people's attention every second of the day. Instead, they move with purpose, they walk with confidence, and they carry themselves in a way that says, I'm good with or without you. That kind of energy is rare, and that's why it's so attractive. Take a moment and think about the people in your life who have that self-sufficiency. They don't talk about what they need from others. They're focused on what they're building for themselves. They might not be the loudest in the room, but they stand out because they know their value and they don't need to prove it to anyone. Their self-worth doesn't come from external sources, it comes from within. And because of that, they hold a kind of power that can't be taken away. Think about someone like Steve Jobs, a person who didn't wait for permission or validation to go after his dreams. He had a vision, and he believed in that vision so strongly that he didn't need anyone else to believe in it. In fact, there was a time when people didn't even get what he was doing. They thought he was crazy. They thought he was taking risks that didn't make sense. But that didn't matter to him. He was so grounded in his own understanding of his purpose that he didn't need to rely on other people's opinions. The people who came to him, who were drawn to him, were coming because they saw something in him they couldn't find in themselves. Self-sufficiency. They saw someone who had a clear understanding of who they were, who didn't need anyone to tell them how to move, how to think, or how to live. That's the kind of energy that draws people in. That's the kind of energy that gets others to chase after you. Not because you're asking for it, but because you're living your life in such a way that people can't help but be inspired by it. You're not seeking approval. You're not begging for attention. Instead, you're creating your own path, and when others see that, They want to be a part of that journey. They want to know what makes you tick, what drives you, what's the source of that unshakable confidence you carry with you. Now, this doesn't mean you never need help or support. It's not about cutting everyone out of your life or being a loner. It's about not relying on anyone to complete you. When you know who you are and what you want, you can seek out relationships, whether they're personal or professional, from a place of strength, not neediness. You start to build connections based on mutual respect, shared values, and common goals, not because you need someone to fill a gap in your life. And that's when you attract people who are on the same frequency, people who are driven, people who respect your independence, and who will walk with you, not carry you. Think about the people you respect most. Are they the ones who always need something from others? Or are they the ones who stand on their own 2 feet, who have a vision, who trust in themselves enough to stand firm in their beliefs? The ones who are self-sufficient attract respect, not because they're begging for it, but because they've earned it by being solid in who they are. They've put in the work, they've faced their own battles, and they've come out stronger on the other side. That kind of resilience and strength is magnetic. It's not always easy to get to this point. Being self-sufficient means doing the work, facing your fears, handling your problems, and not looking for someone else to fix them for you. It means showing up for yourself day in and day out, even when it's hard. It means taking ownership of your life, your decisions, your actions, and your emotions. It means not waiting for permission or for someone to tell you you're worthy. You decide that for yourself. You decide that you're enough, that you're capable, and that you're going to build the life you want on your terms. But here's the thing, when you do this, when you put in the work and build the life you want based on your own standards, you'll notice something amazing. People will begin to take notice, not because you're out here begging for attention, but because you're showing them something they don't see every day. You're showing them someone who's standing on their own, someone who knows their worth, someone who doesn't need anyone to validate their existence. When you learn to love yourself first, when you stop looking for approval from the world, that's when you become unstoppable. Because you'll have everything you need inside you. And that's the kind of energy that gets people to chase after you, not because you need them, but because they see something in you that they want. They see strength, they see clarity, they see purpose. They see someone who isn't afraid to stand alone, someone who isn't afraid to build their own empire, someone who isn't afraid to walk away from what doesn't serve them. And that's magnetic. So, if you're wondering why people chase the one who doesn't need them, it's because that person has something rare: self-sufficiency. They don't need anyone to complete them, and that makes them irresistible. And that's the power that comes from knowing your worth, owning your journey, and building your life on your own terms. When you do that, the world will come to you. You won't have to chase anything because it will be chasing you. There's a simple truth that drives human behavior. People always want what they can't have. And when it comes to emotions, that truth becomes even more potent. Think about it. The more someone seems emotionally distant, the more you want to know what's behind that wall. The more they seem like they don't need you, the harder you chase trying to figure out why. This is human nature. It's that curiosity, that deep-seated desire to break through the barriers and understand what makes someone tick. And this dynamic, more than anything, can spark a fire of attraction. People start pursuing you with a fervor that comes from wanting something that feels out of reach. It's that curiosity that keeps you thinking about someone long after they've walked away. It's not about playing games. It's about knowing your worth and standing firm in who you are. When you stop chasing validation and start focusing on your own path, you trigger a natural reaction in others. They want to know why you're not pursuing them. They want to know what makes you so strong, so self-sufficient. This emotional distance isn't about being cold or indifferent. It's about knowing that you don't need anyone to complete you. And when you can stand in that space of emotional independence, others can't help but be drawn to you. Let's think about dating for a second. Have you ever had someone who seemed like they didn't care about you? They weren't texting you back immediately. They didn't seem to be as invested in the relationship, and suddenly you found yourself obsessed with figuring out why. You started asking yourself, what's missing here? Why doesn't this person need me? The harder they pull away, the more your mind starts working overtime. And as your mind races, you find yourself getting even more drawn to them. You want to understand what makes them tick, why they're not giving you the attention you crave. In doing so, you've already started chasing them. Now think about the opposite. When someone is all over you, when they're constantly texting, calling, showing up, trying to get your attention, what happens? The attraction fades. You start to feel smothered, maybe even a little bit overwhelmed. And why is that? It's because the desperation, the neediness isn't attractive. We all want someone who has their own life, their own path, and their own sense of purpose. We want to know that someone can stand on their own 2 feet, and if we're lucky, they'll want to walk beside us, not carry us. This emotional distance, the space that's created when you don't need someone to validate your worth, creates a sense of mystery that sparks curiosity. And that curiosity over time turns into a deep attraction. Let's take that idea and apply it to something even bigger. Think about entrepreneurs who are building successful businesses. These people are out here grinding, working on their vision and doing it for themselves. They don't wake up every day wondering if people like their ideas, if people are going to invest in them, if people are going to follow them. They have a mission and they're putting everything into it. They're not chasing after investors or clients. They're chasing their passion, their purpose, their vision. And in turn, because they're so focused on their own path, people flock to them. They want to be a part of what they're building. Why? Because emotional distance, that ability to stay true to yourself and not chase others for attention or approval, is magnetic. People can feel that energy. They want to be near it. They want to understand it. They want to know how they can be a part of something bigger than themselves. In a way, that's how life works. When you focus on yourself, when you pour your energy into your own growth and your own journey, the world starts to notice. People start to gravitate toward you, not because you've been seeking their approval, but because they see you walking in your purpose. They see you building something that's bigger than them, and that's powerful. People respect that. They want to learn from you, follow you, or be part of your vision. They're drawn to your emotional distance, your independence, because it gives them something they don't have: a sense of direction, a sense of self-assuredness. This is the core of human psychology. When you don't need someone, when you don't rely on them to complete you, it sends out a signal that says, I'm good on my own. And that's exactly what others want to be around. It's not about playing hard to get. It's about standing in your own strength, knowing that you don't need someone else to validate you. And when people see that, they start chasing you, not because you're looking for them, but because they want what you have. They want to be a part of your journey. They want to understand your mindset. They want to know what makes you tick, and that's where the magic happens. You can see this dynamic play out in all aspects of life. Think about friendships. Have you ever noticed that the friends who don't need to be constantly entertained or validated are the ones who seem to have the best relationships? They're not chasing after anyone for approval. They're not trying to be everything to everyone. Instead, they're living their own lives, doing their own thing, and if others choose to be a part of that, then great. But if not, they're good. And it's this independence, this self-sufficiency that makes them so magnetic to others. People are drawn to their strength, to their sense of purpose, and to their ability to stand alone without fear. In the same way, when it comes to professional relationships, the people who get the most respect and attention are those who aren't begging for validation. They're the ones who are clear about their goals, who are driven by their vision, and who don't let the opinions of others dictate their path. Those are the people that others want to work with because they bring a sense of certainty and direction that's hard to find in the world. They don't need to chase success or recognition because they're already walking in their purpose. And because of that, success follows them. People flock to them. And the ones who once looked at them from a distance, unsure of how to break through, now find themselves chasing after them, wanting a piece of that energy. When you stop chasing after people and start walking in your own power, you become the person others want to pursue. You stop begging for attention and start attracting it naturally. People want to know what makes you tick, what keeps you moving forward, and why you're so strong. And it's that curiosity, that need to break through the emotional distance you've created, that drives others to pursue you more than they ever would if you were constantly seeking their validation. You're not chasing affection or attention anymore. You've learned that it comes when you don't desperately need it. And in the process, you become the one everyone else is chasing. Confidence is one of those things that can't be faked. It's not about how you look, what you wear, or how much attention you can grab. It's about something deeper. It's that unshakable belief that you are enough, just as you are. When you know your worth, when you understand that your value is not tied to what others think of you, that's when real confidence kicks in. And the beauty of it is that kind of confidence is magnetic. People are drawn to it, not because you're asking for their attention, but because they feel secure in your presence. It's a power that doesn't need to shout to be heard. The most powerful type of confidence is the kind that comes from within. It's the kind that doesn't depend on the validation of others. because you've already validated yourself. When someone stands in that type of energy, it commands respect without saying a word. It's not about boasting or showing off. It's about standing firm in who you are and knowing that you don't need anyone's approval to be great. It's about owning your space, owning your decisions, and owning your path. Think about the most successful public figures you know, the ones who exude confidence in every room they walk into. It's not that they're trying to grab everyone's attention. No, it's because they've built something within themselves that makes others take notice. They've put in the work, they've faced their own battles, and now they stand unshaken by the world around them. They don't need to prove anything. The way they move through the world speaks volumes without them ever having to say a word. That's the type of confidence that attracts. It doesn't beg for validation. It doesn't beg for recognition. It doesn't beg for anyone to give it a platform. It doesn't need a crowd. When you carry yourself with that kind of self-assurance, people can't help but gravitate towards you. They respect you because they sense that you are not moved by the noise around you. You stand firm in who you are, no matter what. And that kind of consistency, that unwavering sense of self, makes people want to follow your lead. It's like a teacher who doesn't just know the curriculum. They embody it. They don't just speak with authority, they stand in it. They don't need to constantly assert themselves because their very presence commands respect. Their students don't just listen to them, they feel compelled to learn. Why? Because that teacher has mastered something more than knowledge. They've mastered confidence. They know who they are and they know what they have to offer. And because they stand in that power, they don't have to convince anyone of their worth. It's already clear. It's the same with anyone who radiates this type of confidence. Whether it's in business, personal relationships, or creative endeavors, the ones who stand tall with their own beliefs, who are unapologetic about their vision, are the ones who naturally draw people in. You don't need anyone to tell you that you're on the right path. When you don't need anyone to give you permission to be who you are, that's when you become unstoppable. That's when you become the person others can't help but admire. It's easy to get caught up in trying to please others, to shape ourselves based on the expectations of the world around us. But true confidence isn't about fitting in or conforming to what others want. It's about standing firm in your own truth, no matter what. And when you stand in that truth, it doesn't matter what the world says about you. You're already enough. You already know your worth. And that is a power that no one can take away from you. When you're secure in who you are, you no longer feel the need to compare yourself to others. You stop worrying about who's ahead or who's behind. You're just focused on your own journey, and you trust that your path is exactly where you need to be. That's the essence of confidence. It's not about looking down on others or being better than anyone else. It's about knowing that you don't need anyone's approval to walk in your purpose. And that's what makes true confidence so magnetic. People don't have to be told you're confident. They feel it. It's in the way you move, the way you speak, the way you handle challenges. It's in your ability to stand firm in the face of adversity and keep moving forward no matter what. It's in the way you inspire others without even trying. People are drawn to that energy because it makes them feel secure. It makes them feel like they can do the same. They want to be around that energy because it lifts them up, because it shows them that they too can stand tall and face the world with confidence. Think about a moment in your life when you truly felt confident. Not the kind of confidence that comes from compliments or external validation, but the kind that comes from within. It's the kind that shows up when you know you've put in the work, when you've overcome obstacles, when you've fought through your doubts and fears, and you've come out on the other side. It's that quiet knowing that you are enough just as you are. That confidence is powerful. And when you tap into it, you unlock something in yourself that no one can take away. That's the type of confidence that changes the game. It's not about pretending to be something you're not. It's about embracing who you are, flaws and all, and owning it. It's about being comfortable in your own skin, knowing that your worth is not defined by the opinions of others, but by the actions you take and the way you show up in the world. This kind of confidence isn't about ego. It's not about thinking you're better than anyone else. It's about knowing that you are just as worthy, just as capable, and just as deserving as anyone else. It's about showing up every day, doing the work, and walking in your purpose, regardless of the noise around you. And when you do that, you'll notice something incredible starts to happen. People begin to take notice. They begin to see you not because you're trying to stand out, but because your energy, your presence, your authenticity is undeniable. Confidence is not something you can fake. It's not something you can force. It's something you build within yourself day by day, choice by choice. And once you have it, you carry it with you everywhere you go. People will notice, people will follow, and that's when the real impact starts. When you know who you are, when you are unapologetic about your worth, when you stand firm in your truth, that's when you start creating a life that others can't help but be drawn to. There's a power in having the freedom to choose, a power that's not often understood by those who feel constantly bound by the opinions, expectations, or rules of others. When you stop relying on others for validation or approval, you give yourself the freedom to decide who and what truly deserves your time and energy. That kind of freedom is not only liberating, it's magnetic. It draws people in because it signals that you are not someone who's easily swayed, not someone who can be easily controlled or influenced by outside forces. You are the one who holds the keys to your own life. And that kind of independence is incredibly attractive. Picture a successful professional who's built their own career, their own business, and their own life. They have the power to say no to opportunities, relationships, and situations that don't align with their goals or values. They're not chasing after approval or scrambling to fit into someone else's vision of who they should be. They've set their own standards, created their own path, and now they walk it with purpose. And if something doesn't serve them, they walk away. This is the true meaning of freedom, the ability to choose what to embrace and what to leave behind. It's a quiet power that resonates with anyone who's paying attention. When you have the courage to make empowered decisions, when you have the freedom to choose what's best for you, people notice. It's easy to get caught up in the idea that success means constantly seeking more opportunities, more recognition, more validation from others. But true success, real power, comes when you no longer need any of that to feel whole. When you've built your own foundation, when you've developed the strength to stand on your own, you stop chasing what everyone else is chasing. You create your own definition of success, and that's what makes you stand out. You're not bound by anyone else's rules or expectations. You don't need anyone else to tell you that you're doing the right thing. You trust your own judgment. You make your own choices. Think about people in your life who exude that type of freedom. Maybe you've had a mentor, someone who didn't seek your validation, didn't try to impress you, but instead offered you something of value from a place of complete independence. Maybe it was a business leader, a teacher, or a friend. They didn't need you to admire them or follow them. They didn't chase after your approval, but still they inspired you. They made decisions based on their own values, their own beliefs. And in doing so, they earned your respect. They showed you that it was possible to live life on your own terms. And that's a lesson that sticks with you. It's important to understand that the people who can walk away from something, who have the ability to say no when they need to, are the ones who are truly free. They're not afraid to make tough decisions, even if it means walking away from something or someone. And that's what makes them powerful. That's what makes them respected. Because they're not living for anyone else. They're not trying to fit into someone else's mold. They're living for themselves. And that kind of independence is contagious. Imagine having that kind of freedom in your own life. Imagine being able to choose where you invest your time, who you surround yourself with, and what you do with your energy without feeling like you have to answer to anyone. How different would your life be if you had that kind of power? You wouldn't be chasing after people or trying to impress them. You'd be focused on your own journey, your own growth, and your own purpose. And the beauty of that is when you stop chasing after things that don't serve you, when you stop seeking approval or validation from others, the world begins to come to you. People begin to notice your energy, your confidence, and your independence. Think about the way people are drawn to those who walk with that kind of freedom. The ones who have set boundaries, the ones who know what they stand for, who are unapologetic about their values, and who aren't afraid to say no when something doesn't align with their vision. Those people become beacons. They're not out here asking for attention. They don't need to. They've built something so solid, something so authentic, that people are naturally drawn to them. Not because they're chasing after others, but because they've learned the true art of letting go of what doesn't serve them. It's not just about saying no to things that don't align with your goals. It's about saying yes to what does. It's about choosing to invest your time and energy in things that push you forward, that elevate you, that contribute to your growth. The freedom to choose means that you're actively shaping your life, not letting it be shaped by others. You get to decide what matters, what doesn't, and what to do about it. And in doing that, you build a life that's not just successful, but meaningful. A life that's aligned with your values, your passions, and your purpose. The freedom to choose is not just a luxury, it's a mindset. It's the belief that you don't have to accept what the world throws at you. You don't have to settle for what others think you deserve. You get to decide that for yourself. And when you embrace that power, it changes everything. It shifts your energy, your outlook, and the way you interact with the world. It gives you the strength to walk away from what doesn't serve you and to choose what aligns with your vision for your life. And that's when you stop living on autopilot, stop being driven by external circumstances, and start living with purpose. It's easy to get caught up in the idea that we need to be everything for everyone to keep up with the expectations of others. But when you recognize that your worth isn't tied to their approval, when you stop living for others, you give yourself the freedom to create a life that's truly yours. And that, my friends, is a life that others can't help but be drawn to. Because people are naturally attracted to those who are free, those who move with intention, those who live with purpose. They're drawn to the energy of someone who has the power to choose, because that's the type of energy that inspires others to step into their own power. So, the next time you find yourself chasing after someone or something, ask yourself, is this truly serving me? And if the answer is no, give yourself the freedom to walk away. Don't be afraid to make the choice that's best for you. Because when you choose yourself, when you choose what's right for you, you're not just living for you. You're creating a life that others will admire, respect, and want to be a part of. And that's the real power in having the freedom to choose. Mystery is one of the most powerful forces of attraction that exists, but it's not about playing games or creating drama. It's about presence. When you're emotionally independent, when you're whole on your own, you naturally create an aura of mystery around you. You don't need to say much to captivate others. In fact, the more you reveal, the less people will want to know. But when you hold back, when you let your actions speak louder than your words, you create a dynamic that keeps people intrigued, keeps them wanting to know more. This kind of mystery, the kind that isn't forced or contrived, is irresistible. You don't have to pour your heart out to everyone you meet. You don't have to share all your secrets, all your thoughts, all your dreams right away. You don't have to tell people everything about yourself to make them like you. In fact, the opposite is true. The more you hold back, the more people will want to figure you out. Think about it. Some of the most compelling characters in books or movies are the ones who seem a little hard to figure out. They don't make themselves an open book. They don't reveal their deepest thoughts and fears in the first scene. Instead, they give you just enough to keep you curious, to make you want to know more. The mystery lies in what's hidden, in what's not said, in what's left to be discovered over time. And that's what makes them so captivating. When you allow people to discover who you are bit by bit, it creates a sense of intrigue. It makes them want to understand you, to understand the layers beneath the surface. It's not about keeping people at arm's length for the sake of keeping them away. It's about maintaining your sense of self and allowing others to earn the privilege of getting to know you. You don't need to put yourself on display for everyone. People have to work a little harder to uncover what makes you tick. And that's what makes them value you even more. When they have to put in the effort, when they have to dig a little deeper, they start to appreciate what they find more. That's the allure of mystery. It's not about keeping people guessing for the sake of drama. It's about letting them slowly peel back the layers of who you are, revealing just enough to keep them interested and engaged. In relationships, this mystery can be incredibly powerful. It's not about being emotionally unavailable because you don't care. It's about valuing your own space. It's about knowing that you don't need to pour all of yourself into someone else right away. You show just enough to keep them intrigued, but you don't give it all away at once. People are drawn to this type of energy because it makes them feel like there's something special, something deeper that they can't quite touch yet. And it keeps them coming back for more. It's human nature to want what we can't have, to be intrigued by what's just out of reach. And the more you allow others to see that there's more to you than meets the eye, the more they will want to invest in learning about you. You don't have to play hard to get. You don't have to be aloof or distant just to create this dynamic. It's about knowing your worth, knowing that you don't need to constantly prove yourself to others. You don't have to over-explain who you are or justify your choices. The less you reveal, the more power you hold. And that power is magnetic. When someone is emotionally independent, they create space where people have to work a little harder to earn their attention, to earn their trust. And when people have to earn something, they value it more. They don't take it for granted. It becomes something to be treasured, something that they don't want to lose. And that's the kind of dynamic that keeps people engaged, keeps them coming back, keeps them chasing to discover more. Think about a person who is confident in their own space. They're not constantly seeking approval from others. They don't need to be in the spotlight all the time. They are comfortable with their own company, with their own thoughts, and they don't feel the need to share every little detail of their life with the world. That kind of self-assurance creates a natural sense of mystery. It makes others wonder, what's going on behind the scenes? What does this person think when they're not talking? What do they dream about when they're alone? The more you keep for yourself, the more people will be drawn to you, to what you're not saying, to what you're not revealing. This doesn't mean you have to be a closed book or that you can't be open with others, but it means that you don't have to give everything away right away. You don't have to tell people everything about yourself in the first conversation. Instead, let your actions speak louder than words. Show them who you are through what you do, through the way you carry yourself, through the energy you put into the world. And as you do that, they'll start to piece together who you are bit by bit. But it's the mystery, the things that remain unsaid, that will keep them coming back for more. In romantic relationships, this is especially powerful. When someone is emotionally independent, when they don't need someone else to define their worth, they naturally create this sense of mystery. They value their own space, and they don't let their emotions be driven by the whims of others. And that's what makes them so attractive. When you're not constantly seeking someone's attention or approval, when you stand firm in your own energy, you become magnetic. People want to understand you. They want to figure you out. And the more they try to understand you, the more they respect you, the more they appreciate the mystery that surrounds you. This doesn't mean that you have to be cold or detached. It just means that you value yourself enough to keep some things private, to keep some things for yourself. You don't need to overshare. You don't need to expose all your vulnerabilities at once. Instead, you let people see who you are through your actions, through your choices, through the way you live your life. And when people see that kind of mystery, that kind of self-assuredness, they can't help but be drawn in, because the truth is, mystery is more than just what you hide. It's about what you choose to reveal. And when you choose to reveal it, it's about maintaining control over your own story and allowing others to earn the privilege of getting to know you. And that's the allure that keeps people coming back for more. So, why do they chase the one who doesn't need them? It's because they are attracted to strength, independence, and mystery. It's not about playing hard to get. It's about being so secure in your own value that others can't help but be drawn to you. The key takeaway today is that your worth is not defined by how much someone else needs you, but by how much you value yourself. When you learn to stand alone, to be self-sufficient, and to choose your relationships wisely, others will come to you. Not because they need you, but because they want what you offer: confidence, freedom, mystery, and strength. Now, remember this: the more you don't need others, the more others will seek you out. That's the paradox of attraction. So stand tall, value yourself, and watch as the world begins to chase what you already